So what have we done so far? I know it's a ton of work. We started out with prepping our quiz funnel, figuring out what our goals are for our business and how the quiz relates to our business, and also understanding who our audience is and who we're talking to. We then started diving into the actual strategy of the quiz and started looking at the personalities, which then turned into our results, which then turned into our segments. From there, we actually went into the quiz and took a look at the builder, started checking that out, how to actually apply some of these strategies in there. And with that, we went into the cover page, so title and tagline, then questions. We talked about the logic of the quiz. And then we went into the results from there. And then we talked about the opt-in form and how to really optimize that really major drop-off in a lot of people's quizzes. And then after optimizing our opt-in form, we connected our integrations. So if you guys so far from there have any questions, I know it's a ton of info, please, please, please feel free to ask. So today, coming from the weekend, I wanted to take a step back before going back into the builder, and we're going to talk a little bit about emails and nurturing your new quiz subscribers that come in after they take your quiz and they opt in. So after we've applied everything so far, we do want to make sure that we're continuing the conversation from the quiz and sending them more info, giving them the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better as a person, as a business, however that ends up working out, and then also get to know a little bit more about themselves and how it applies to your services or product, right? So with emails and nurture, the reason why we call this a nurture series, you'll also hear it called a welcome series, is because you don't want to do a quick sale. And a lot of the times I've heard people describe it as, you wouldn't ask somebody to marry you on the first date. And I think it's the funniest analogy I've ever heard. So I love that one. But you want to nurture people into trusting you and becoming loyal to you before they're ready to buy. There's a stat that I've heard in many times in the past few years, especially after college, is that people need to see something at least 7 times before they decide to buy. So I'm sure that's why people get bombarded with ads these days, because you do have to see it multiple times before you're actually interested in buying something. And it kind of plays into that psychological side of marketing. So there is that. And with that in mind, really what you want to do in your welcome series is give them a chance to get to know you, as I said, and also just say hello. So in general, for a welcome or nurture series, I'm going to use them both interchangeably. They mean the same exact thing. I've seen anywhere from 5 to 10 emails after somebody takes a quiz. So it really, again, is up to you and what you decide to do with your email series. And it also kind of depends on what your services or products are. So 5 to 10 emails. The biggest thing that you want to keep in mind is that email 1, that very first email that gets sent out right after they take the quiz, is usually going to be the one that kind of elaborates more on what their result is, what their personality is, and how that pertains to you and your business. From there, you can continue on and just continue talking about your business. You can still pertain it to that personality. It's really up to you. A lot of partners that I've worked with have had different, not that any of them are wrong or incorrect, but they've had different ways of doing it. And I've heard kind of different advice based off of you want your welcome series to be really active and engaging with them because, they're coming in really warm and you might want to send an email once a day. Recently, we've been working on our own opt-in, and I heard a recommendation of doing it. I can't remember. If I remember when I look up the name later, I will put it in the comments. But it was this method of sending, the first one immediately after they take the quiz, wait 1 day to send email 2, wait 2 days to send email 3, and then wait 3 days to send email 4, and so on. So those are a couple different ways. Like I said, it's really up to you, and there's a lot of great articles out there based off of emails. We even have one ourselves that I can link later in the comments. But yeah, so it's up to you how you want to do that. Usually 5 to 10 emails, but pretty much email 1, you really want to make sure that you welcome them and you talk more about their result type, how that relates to them and how it relates to you as a business, and pretty much what are they doing there, In the next few emails, we usually recommend letting them get to know you. So, also telling a little bit about yourself. This is a great place to put testimonials that you've had from other clients or people that you've worked with. It's a great place to give them a little bit of a background on your story and how you came to become a business, or how you decided this was the career of your choice and this was the pathway that you wanted to take. It's also a great place to repurpose content that you already have. So, what I mean by that, and I think I might have mentioned this already when we were talking a little bit about the opt-in form, but what I mean by that is repurposing content. If you have like a checklist that you can send them, if you have blog posts that are great resources that you can bring back into, the pipeline, and just letting them know like, hey, this is there, and republishing that and getting it out there again. If you have already written any ebooks, those are also great to offer as freebies um, in your welcome series as well, or shorter versions of that, whatever makes sense. Any type of PDF works great. And yeah, it's a really good place to put those in there if you already have that content and you kind of want to just bring it back into the funnel, back for people to see and start viewing again, especially if you have really great info in there. And then I think I already mentioned this, but yes, introduce yourself. So give them a little bit of background on you and your story, and pretty much why you want to help people and why this is a business that you decided to go with. At some point, you might want to include some kind of a soft offer, and of course, eventually, you want to include the main offer. So, what I mean by that is I've seen people do different things with this. So, a soft offer can be something like, "Hey, like I have some kind of strategy call that I offer people," or maybe one of your low ticket offers that you can send them. So that way, it kind of gives them a little bit of a taste of what you do and who you are and how you can best serve them without doing a really aggressive sale. If that works for you. But if you have some kind of a big course, or this quiz is specifically for that course, you definitely want to mention this in there. Um, Something that you might do in that case is pretty much something like where you would kind of explain to them what you do, why it matters, maybe talk a little bit about a few different tips and tricks that they can do. And then, of course, at the end, let them know, like, hey, I actually have a whole course based off of this. And I'd like to invite you to come to this like 10-week, whatever, or 3-week course, or whatever it ends up being. But including those offers in there. So, one of the big things that I always tell people before, and I'm positive I said it before we started going into the actual quiz, is you want to have that offer ready. You want to have that big offer ready before you go into your quiz, because it's going to the whole quiz is surrounded around that. And especially if it is something big like a course launch, you want to make sure that all of the info is tailored to what that's going to be. So have that offer ready, because it should be included in your email nurture series. It's totally up to you when and where you want to put it, but I do recommend having that ready to put in your welcome series. As I mentioned earlier, these leads are super warm when they come in. They already have an interest because they opted in, and you kind of like already have that shoe in for like, okay, I know who this person is. I know that they're interested. You can use questions and answer choices that they've chosen throughout the quiz to validate that, and be like, okay, well, they did answer this question a certain way, so I'm positive they're in the right place, and so on. If you are in e-commerce or have a product recommendation quiz, you might lead them straight to the product type from the result call to action, or in your email one. I don't know if you guys seen, I think it was my Ask Me Anything with Josh in the summer, but a few times now I've mentioned one of my favorite quizzes is this quiz that gosh, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it had to do with what, crystal or mineral is your personality. And I just loved it because recently I really got into, the energy that pretty much these minerals and crystals have, and how it affects your mood and your day, and everything like that. But pretty much, I love that one. It's a product recommendation quiz for sure because it lets you know what crystal you are. And then, of course, it goes straight into this is the type of crystal you are. Here are my options for buying it from me. And, you know, it could either be something where it's like a bundle or a package, or you can get just the stone itself, and so on. Another one of my favorite quizzes, I've been using it as an example for forever, is Primally Pure's deodorant quiz. And they have their quiz is specifically like which one should you buy and which like flavor is right for you. And so you take the quiz, it gives you that flavor at the end, and then it takes you straight to the page, but it tells you a lot more about what that product, that specific flavor of that product does, what it means, why these ingredients work. And they're all about natural ingredients. So they talk a lot about natural ingredients as well, and so on. So I can link a few in there if you guys are interested in some examples that I've seen throughout the years. That are still active and still up, of course. And that way you can take a look at some of those examples and try to get inspiration from it. But yeah, if you have an e-commerce quiz, that is something that I definitely recommend doing, is just going straight into this is the products that is right for you, mainly because they are there to figure that out. With service-based, it's a little bit different, mostly because, you know, it depends on like what stage they're at in whatever they're doing. It depends on their journey, and it also depends on if it's right for them. I would, though, I do want to point out that if you are doing a product recommendation quiz, so for example, my favorite crystal one, when I got that first email, I wasn't entirely sure I was going to buy, but from there I continued getting emails about what that crystal means, how its energy is really helpful, what it does, and a lot about how it pertains to me or could pertain to me in my regular lifestyle. So I think still continuing the conversation of that is really important in a product recommendation quiz, especially since you are doing more of a fast, quick sell right from the beginning, because that's what they're there for. But again, it's totally up to you. I think everybody does it differently, but in my own experience, that's how I've really looked at it. Okay, cool. So I have another note in here too. So when you send email one about that result type for a product recommendation quiz, mention it again later down the line in the welcome series as a refresher. So that's kind of what I was just saying, was she continued to kind of talk more about like, you know, even if you aren't ready to buy, here is, you know, more about what that is. I also got access to, I think it was a blog post or just information pretty much about what other crystals meant and what they did and how they affected the mood and so on. So that's also something that I would recommend, especially if you are e-commerce and doing product recommendation, or, you know, it could be digital products, or I'm talking mostly about physical products, but it all applies the same way. Give them access to seeing what other personalities are out there, what it means and how it pertains to other people. And you never know, maybe they might still be interested in buying one of those. So this part is really important to your quiz. I know I say that for everything, but what I pretty much am getting at with saying everything is super important is everything has its own part to this whole process of your marketing funnel, and you just want to make sure that you really cater to each part, because that part is there for a reason and it is super important to what your overall goal is and what you're trying to accomplish with your quiz. So this part is mainly important because it's how you continue your conversation with your subscribers. It's also how you're letting them get to know you, and also building that relationship and becoming loyal to your business. And this is where that part happens. This is also the part where they'll generally be encouraged to buy from you, which of course is the ultimate goal. We not only want loyal subscribers and, you know, loyal customers, we want people to still buy from us as well and still get that value from it. And then also creating that loyalty, and not only to yourself, but also to your brand. So this is a great way to do that. And yeah, if you guys have questions on any of this, how it applies, we do have a ton of resources actually on your welcome series, because it is such an important part of your quiz. I can link to some of those. We have a workshop with one of our consultants that we did recently. I think it was a month ago, October, sorry, 2 months ago. Anyway, it was recent, and so I will link that in the comments for you guys so you could take a look at it. Great information on the Welcome series. We have a few blog posts that I can dig up. It might just be one. I think we consolidated, but just to be sure, we for sure have one. I'll link that as well so you guys can take a look. And then also feel free to ask questions in the group if you've already started on your email series. There's a ton of people that have great insight on what that is. So I have 10 minutes left. As always, if you guys have questions, please let me know and I will do my best to answer. Feel free to tag me if you're watching this later down the line. I know I saw a couple of people are still catching up from the last few days. 14 days is a lot. But yeah, this is our last few days together. Friday will be the last episode. So let me know again how you guys feel, if there's any information you felt was missing that you felt we could go deeper into. And it'll help us plan maybe future workshops similar to this. So, last thing that I want to end with is don't feel like you have to have your welcome series a certain particular way. As I mentioned earlier, everybody does it a little bit differently, and it really just depends on your business, what you're offering, if you have a course, if you have products, or if you have different ticketed offers. It really just kind of depends, but I would love to hear what you guys have in store for this part of your funnel, and let me know if there's anything that I can help with. And I just want to reiterate, in case you guys missed it earlier, you could do 5 to 10 emails. I've seen anywhere between those. And then depending on how you want to sell to them, it really depends on when you send those emails, how far apart they are, for example. Email 1 is to make sure that you welcome them and also reiterate their result type, and then also just kind of validate who they are and what that means. And then in the next few emails, let them get to know you, offer some freebies if you can, or if you have any other content where it's a blog post, a checklist, an ebook, or so on, definitely include that in there. Giving your audience more value than they thought they were going to get is always a good idea. All right, that's it for me, guys. That's all I have for today. So tomorrow, what we're going to cover is implementation and promotion, which pretty much is going to mean how do you take your quiz from the Interact Builder to your website or to a Facebook ad and so on. I don't unfortunately have any mock-up accounts for this, so I will try to do my best in showing you guys what our options are. I do have a few examples that I'm going to pull up so you can see what some of them look like. And that way you can probably try to get an idea of how you can do it for yourself as well. It's usually pretty easy. And by this point, if you have any questions or something doesn't fit quite right, you can always go contact support and get some answers through there. So that will be tomorrow. From there, just to give you a little idea of what we're going to do for the rest of the week, we will move into the post-quiz part of the training, where I'm going to talk mostly about understanding your analytics and how to read that. I've had a few questions in the past about some benchmarks that you should take a look at. And then I think it might be a good place to talk a little bit about, when to ask for help, or maybe if you think your analytics aren't good or they're not where they should be, and so on. After that will be the last day. Oh, sorry, I totally skipped this part. I'm also going to talk a little bit some tech tips that we have inside of the builder, and then there's like a few buttons in there that I think you guys should definitely know about, and if you have any questions on the tech side, you can definitely ask me in there. And then on the last day, what we're going to cover is just a reiteration of everything so far. And then also just any questions that you guys have, any lingering questions. I'm going to go over our pricing plans in case you guys have questions about that. That's come up in the past. And then from there, if you guys have your quizzes ready to go, feel free, of course, to post it in the group, and then we'll take a look and get some feedback in there. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening to me today. I will post those resources in the comments. I will also go back. I think I missed a few days of filling out that outline of what I covered in that day, so I will make sure that I go do that today. Thanks again. Let me know if you have questions, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.